I'm such a sucker. So what do I do? Do I pre-order the physical edition and get that poster? Or do I just get the digital deluxe? I don't...
Physical, obviously.
I know. It's such a physical.
Yeah, you're talking to the guy who still buys physical for everything. Come on.
Well, that being said, you may not get that option soon, right? So it may be a relic. Sony is stopping disc production. So Sony stopping disc production will be a massive blow to game preservation. We have an article that says Sony is looking to wind down production of Blu-ray discs with the goal of eventually ceasing production of physical media altogether. This would be bad news for, just sheer preservation of entertainment data. We see now that the PS3 is almost lost in time due to not being able to emulate games properly. I know I myself have had issues emulating games on the PS5 via PS3, so it's sad to see, and it's a generational change of things happening. I know you are a big advocate of physical production. Physical copies of things, having your rights attached to it. And I believe because of the reasons you like physical is why they're taking it away.
And I believe you're probably right. I think the bigger one, as you say, is cost. Sony are one of the biggest producers currently of Blu-ray media. So they do it for movies. So if you're buying a 4K Blu-ray movie, the likelihood is that has been printed by Sony, even if they weren't involved in the production of the movie or anything like that, because they are one of the biggest creators of this media in the world at this moment in time. If you're buying a Blu-ray of any particular description, especially like those 4K Blu-rays and what have you, it probably come through Sony's warehouse. What this report is saying is that they are looking to wind down the production of physical media themselves. What that means is they will be pulling out of that particular race. They won't be creating any more Blu-rays. It does not mean particularly that they won't be using physical media. There is nowhere in there that it says that their aim is to go to an all-digital future for every single thing. They still make the best 4K Blu-ray players on the planet. They're one of the only companies that do make 4K Blu-ray players on the planet. They are at a premium price tag. They make a lot of money for Sony year on year. And then, of course, people are buying Blu-rays to go into those Blu-ray players. They're keeping those Blu-ray players running, so they're buying spare parts from Sony. This is just a case of they don't want to be dealing with that disc side of it. And just because they're not making the Blu-rays doesn't mean they won't continue to use Blu-rays. But we also have to look across one of the fences at Nintendo. Nintendo do not use any form of disc in their current console, and it is the best-selling thing on the market. And on the second-hand market, those games hold all of their value. You can go and try and buy Breath of the Wild now, which came out in 2017, so 7 years ago, and it still costs the same £45 that it did when it launched, and it's been sold on 3 or 4 times. That is the value of a Nintendo Switch cartridge. That game is on that cartridge, you put that in, not connected to the internet, and you can play Breath of the Wild in full. There is nothing to stop Sony, Microsoft, and anybody else who wants to get into the console business further down the line from going ahead and putting different physical media in their devices. We've had cartridges with the PlayStation Vita before. We've had mini UMD discs with the PlayStation Portable before. There are multiple different ways to do this. If they just go down the route of like a micro SD card, you can get so much more space on, say, a micro SD card than you can on a Blu-ray disc. So they could create bigger, better, more bombastic and better performing games just because they've got the physical space to do so. It's not quite the huge problem that this news article is making it out to be, but it is a bit of a concern because we've seen it with other platforms before. This is a Google Stadia controller that no longer has a platform that it can connect to. That platform's gone. All of the games that it played are gone. So we have no way of preserving or showing off to people what Stadia was capable of whilst it was on the market. I can show people what PlayStation 3 was capable of because I have my PlayStation 3 and I have the physical games. I can show people PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1. I can show them the Nintendo Entertainment System. I can show them the Switch that is current and the online preservation they've got there. So there are ways and means to do this. As you say, though, the PS3 right now is in a bit of a sticky situation for people being able to come to it now, today. And we are the only industry in the world where 80% of what has been created is no longer accessible. Can you imagine not being able to access Gone with the Wind just because you couldn't play Betamax anymore? And that was it. Gone with the Wind was done because it was on Betamax only sort of thing. That's the idiocy of this whole move everything to digital, bring nothing forward situation that we've got right now in the video game industry. It's just... this is getting a bit bent out of shape ahead of time to make it known that we want physical media so that we can preserve the video game industry that we love so much.
That is, I think it's all transitional. And like you said, they may outsource or they may change their media format. Only time will tell. And we're along for the ride, and we'll keep letting you know. But like I've said and predicted, we are going all digital in the near future. I think that's the way they want us to be in consuming games. And I definitely believe that they need to start archiving this a lot better. Like you said, we can't be losing this data at such a crazy rate. But Switch 2 will be all digital, and PS6 all digital. Watch, you heard it here. I'm predicting it.
You're the same guy who predicted a Sony Switch, so you know I'm not enticed to believe everything that you're saying.
Still invested in the Sony Switch.
I hope we don't get an all digital future. Look at it with video now. I couldn't tell you the last time I bought a DVD or a Blu-ray because it's been that long. But I went the other week. I wanted to watch The Matrix. My partner hadn't seen it. I wanted to watch it. It was not available anywhere. I couldn't buy it on Google Play Movies. It wasn't on Sony Core. It was not available on Netflix or Amazon Prime Video. The only way that I could get it was either through individual little clips on YouTube and putting them all together in a playlist so you got the whole movie, or pirating it. And that's a situation that the movie industry, which is much better preserved than the video game industry, has put itself into with this all digital setup. We are losing some of the best bits of entertainment that we have ever had. And I don't see why we should accept that as consumers. It's so much easier to just go and grab a disc and stick it in. Whittlesniff has got tons of 4K Blu-rays. He's got a bunch of digital options as well because they're quicker and easier sometimes. But that physical option should always be there as a choice. It would be like never having a physical book in hand again. I could not fathom how terrible that would feel, trying to read on a screen like this forevermore, rather than having a fully bound book in your hand. Physical matters. It really matters for preservation, and just look at the value of something like an original copy of, say, Lord of the Rings. It's incredible because of its cultural significance. And we are losing that in video games where 80% of the industry just isn't there. If we're going to an all-digital future, I'm personally going to fight wholeheartedly against it, speak out at every opportunity, and I would hope as many gamers as possible would join me in such a vocal protestation of the situation.
Well, to really sum up the state of what's happening here, you can really look back at The Matrix and sort of draw that to parallel. I mean, in today's society, that's why they're getting rid of payphones, is so people can stop leaving The Matrix. And that's how the world works, everybody.
I did not think that was where you were going with that one. I appreciate it though. That obviously the machines have realized that's how we leave the Matrix. So get rid of the payphones. They cannot leave the Matrix. Completely understandable.
That's why cell phone technology was driven so quickly, and now nobody can leave the Matrix anymore.
Ironically, I've got a little adapter here to go into my landline connection because they've switched it over to a fiber thing. I don't have a landline. I don't have the phone that goes into the landline. But they sent me this little adapter so that I can use basically a fiber optic landline now. It's like, can we still escape the Matrix on a fiber optic landline? Does that work? Or does it have to be copper?
Yeah, it's got to be hardlined into the earth. I assume. I don't know how the science of the Matrix works.
Oh, brilliant. Right, we're way off topic. We should probably bring it back to PlayStation.
Although, I did hear that there's a possible rumor of Enter the Matrix being remade. So, remember that one. It's a fun title.
I would love that. I had that on a very low-level laptop. It played certain games, did like Battle for Middle-earth, it did Cricket 06 or something. It really struggled with Enter the Matrix, so I've never actually played it at more than 2 frames per second. So I would be well up for like a remake that looks like, say, the Matrix Awakens Unreal 5 tech demo, but plays like Enter the Matrix did. I'd be well up for a remake of that.